Hey YouTube, how's it going? It's me, Luca Mendes, back again for another movie talk, not a review, not exactly. This is more of my opinion on something that is very, I would say, controversial on the internet, and that is, and I will die on this hill. I will die. I will die on this hill, and will be glad to answer comments about it, but I will die on this hill. Eternals from Marvel was, in my opinion, the most interesting project out of Phase 4, and one of the most interesting projects they've ever released. Now, I will explain, doesn't mean it's amazing, but in my opinion, it's great in other aspects. But before we can get to that, let's get to the intro. So okay, welcome back to Frosty Chivuka Films, where I do reviews, talks, sometimes collection reviews, aspects of movies or physical media related stuff. But thanks for checking it out. Before we can get into the video, if you could like and subscribe, that would be amazing. Leave a comment letting me know what your opinions are on my ideas about this movie, the Eternals movie from Marvel that came out in 2021 or 2022, I can't remember, because there's so many Marvel projects that you forget. I believe it's 2021, but I could be wrong. Anyways, first of all, again, I will down this hill. First of all, I want to put a disclaimer out. I'm not saying that the movie is artistically and on a film aspect a great movie. No, I know where the issues are. I understand the criticisms, but I will say why I love this movie and why I watched this movie 4 times in theaters and I own it, and I've watched it twice at home and I still really love watching, and I have it here written down all my ideas about it, my aspects. He's the only guy I have left on my collection from the Eternals. So I'm thinking of getting my collection of the Eternals back because I really love this movie, and there's some that I don't love as much, but that's an idea for the future. Anyways. So, first of all, this movie, I'm going to start with some cons, then move into some pros, and then back into some cons. Some cons. I think Eternals has some of the best visual effects in the Marvel point. I think the visual effects are amazing, and I will get to some points that I don't think they're amazing on the con section. But I think the visual effects, especially with the Celestials, especially with their powers, the whole symmetry, I love it. Love it. The whole circles, and love it. I think it's some of the best visual effects, especially out of Phase 4, because Phase 4 we just had bad visual effects in movies like No Way Home. Sandman is horrendous in that movie, visually wise. We have the Disney Plus shows where some visual effects are really weak. So this one, it just feels like a breath of fresh air on visual effects. And I really love that aspect. It makes really convincing that those Celestials are gods that created the universe and they really control everything. And their powers feel something fresh and new and cool. Because even though some of their powers are like powers we've seen before, like the Superman powers from Icarus. We have the Flash powers. The way they represented those powers in this movie feel fresh and feel exciting and feel something like new, in my opinion. Again, this is all my opinion, but I really wanted to talk about this movie because I saw like the trailer for whatever reason popped up on my recommended, and I was like, I gotta talk about this great movie on my YouTube channel because I really love it. So let's get into the cons. So first con is for sure that Crow, the leader of the mutant creatures, I can't remember the name specifically right now, but I've read the comics and they handled those creatures very differently. The deviants very differently from the comics, and I didn't really like the change they made it from the comics, because I think one of the great things about the comics, the Eternals comics, at least from the ones I read, is that the deviants were aware they couldn't kill Eternals because they are made from gods, so they're technically like gods themselves, and they would plan stuff out to contain the Eternals. Like they trap Icarus on the comics on the bottom of the sea, sleeping because they know they can't defeat him, so they just trap him. And eventually someone saves him, but that's their response. And then this movie, they handled them very differently that I didn't like. The aspect of him being able to kill the Eternals. And the whole aspect too of the Eternals being clones, I really didn't like, but that's a choice, you know. And Crow is such a wasted potential because he could have been a great villain, just be set it up for the next movie. Because this one, there's the twist villain, which we'll get to that part. And he just feels wasted because he dies, and they wasted a very good actor, which is Bill Skarsgård. He did it, and he can do this like more crazy, maniacal creatures, and they just wasted him to this creature that died, and it's not. At least it doesn't seem like it's coming back, but maybe it will. Who knows? Who knows the future? Because I think Eternals 2 is already technically in production whenever that comes out, but it will. So I think and I will add that his visual effects I think are really bad. And I will say I think his visual effects, especially when he's in the more human form, I don't think it works very well. And it's the only visual effects in the movie besides another creature in the post-credit that I think is bad. And I think Pimp on the post-credit with Harry Styles, he also doesn't look great. And it's probably because the budget of the movie really went into the Celestials and the Eternals' powers and not so much on those other creatures. Anyways, again, these are more cons, but that's also being a little positive about my cons. The post-credit scenes. The Black Knight post-credit scene is pretty good. I think it sets up a character, and it sets up that voice that is supposed to be Blade, and setting up the, I think, Midnight Suns, I think they would be. And I think it's cool, but Blade is very pushed back, so I think that post-credit is only gonna pay off years from now. So maybe it was a little premature of a post-credit to do. And it could have been saved for a future project with Black Knight and just made it a little bit easier. But they had to set it up with the movie where he's introduced, and I get it. But it's not happening anytime soon. I can tell they're still writing a script for Blade. And Black Knight and him are gonna become a thing after the Blade movie, so it could take ages. Anyways, the other post-credit, the hairstyles one, where he's the brother of Thanos, I think I will say I think he's a perfect casting in the sense that the god, the Eternal he's playing, he's very known for his like love. He makes people fall in love and have this like more intimate relationship, and hairstyle is an icon of sexuality in today's world. So I think he was greatly cast because he shows that more side of the Eternal. Yes, is Harry Styles a good actor? I don't know. We'll see from the future. From the little movies I've seen him on, which is Don't Worry Darling and Dunkirk. Dunkirk, he's decent. On Don't Worry Darling, he's horrendous. So it's a 50-50 with him. We'll see what we get from Marvel. Maybe by then he would have taken some acting classes and he learned how to better act. And then, like I said, Pimp in the post-credit, he's very bad. Even though I love the guy that voices him, I love when he's on project as more like a side character. I think the CGI and the way he's introduced is very unnecessary. Biggest criticism I hear people saying, and it's a criticism I can see, I agree, but I still don't think it takes away from the movie being great, is the characters are not really developed. And the periods that the characters go through are very rushed, and I totally agree. And I love the idea that some people brought it up that this should have been a TV series, and I think that would have been even more amazing if they used that budget to make all the CGI with the Celestials, the power, and exploring each era in a 50-minute episode, and eventually building up to the great finale. And I know the movie really lacks on that. But I still think some characters are really well done. Like, I think Tina and Gilgamesh, their relationship is really well done. Even though we don't get a lot from them separately, their relationship is really strong because it really affects their emotion in the movie. I think Kingo's emotion with not wanting to fight his family, but also still believing in Arshan's mission on how the world should die so a new Celestian can be born, and having to step away so he doesn't do anything bad. It's a great character choice and difficulty, and I really love it. I really love Icarus being this faithful servant to his god and wanting to make his plan run through, even though Ajax was her communication. She had changes, and that happens with humans. Humans change religion all the time, but there's always the ones that are faithful, and I think that reflects really well in the dynamics. And I really like that Sprite takes his side and kind of feels like because she's in love with him, but she's always been this kid because they made her like that. She's always a kid. And I think it was a really good idea, but they don't really develop on that, so I can see. I like how Druig, he really feels for the humans and how they should help the humans more, and how not helping the humans really makes a very immoral ideals. And I love how Fastos feels really hurt when he helps the atomic bomb, when he helps develops that with his technology. So he feels that he's responsible for that because he is. And it really showed the dynamic. Yes, not all aspects of the characters are developed, no. But all I just mentioned, in my opinion, is really well done. It's really well done. And it really brings the character, really brings those characters out. And it really makes you feel for the characters. And that's why I watched this movie 4 times on theaters, 4 times with different people, so I could get the ideas and feelings that each person I watched with was feeling. Anyway, moving from the cons to pros a little bit now, the costume designs in this movie I love. I love their costumes. It might be my top 5 costumes in the MCU. I know, crazy statement, crazy, I know. But it's because some of the costumes, like especially Spider-Man, I think his costumes are very standard. They're all basically the same one with a different detail here and there, besides the black one, the Spider Monkey from Far From Home. So I think like Spider-Man, Captain America, even though I really love his Endgame costume, Iron Man, even though I love his armors, they're very standard, and this was very different with the circles, each one having a collar, each one having a different style, like Ajax having the headpiece, some having more of a robe, some having more of a different style, and I really love it. I think they were very creative. I think the set designs in this movie are beautiful too, the way they created each era, love it. I really love the cinematography. Chloe Zhao, she won an Oscar for directing, so she knows how to do good direction on a more artistic movie. And that's why I think this movie is so polaric, because it doesn't really sit well with the MCU. Because it's a very artistic movie, less action and more storytelling. And most people are expecting action because that's what the MCU brings out, and it wasn't that. So I think a lot of people are disappointed, and I actually really love that idea, because honestly, I'm tired of action. Tired. Like, I watch trailer for action movies, not just Marvel, and I'm just like, okay, it's same potato. A guy loses his family, loses his kid, go after vengeance. A guy needs to defeat this mafia. It's all the same, you know. So sometimes it brings that breath of fresh air, and that's why I love much more drama movies, or different movies that bring different ideas and bring different stories based on true stories. Are very amazing movies. Actors themselves are really amazing. I think where they struggle is where the script fails a little bit on the character development. That's why they struggle, but I think the cast stacked. Everyone there is a really good actor, and everyone works really well. Like Salma Hayek, everybody else, Kamel Giovanni, he's amazing. Everybody's great in this movie. Now let's get to the part that I think it really works. Icarus as the villain is amazing. Like I said, he has this whole purpose that he is a servant to his god, and he's not gonna betray them and their ideals. So he's a great villain on that sense because he's just following what he was made for. Even though it might be wrong, it was what he was made for. It's his purpose in life, and that's why he kills himself. Because if he can't complete that purpose he was created for, there's no reason for him to live. And that is such a great villain. Such a great villain. I hate when they kill villains, but this is a great way to kill a villain. And I think it works really well. I don't really like the aspect that Sprite becomes a human, even though they're clones, so we're eventually probably gonna see Sprite again, probably die, and we will never hear from that character again. But I think Icarus works really well as a villain, and he's the strongest one out of all of them, so he knows he can take all of them. And some of the action sequences in this movie are amazing, like when Mercari is fighting Icarus with the speed. I think they handled the speed really well, something that we haven't seen with the Flash, especially with the newest Flash movie that came out in 2023. And that is one of the points in the movie that I can tell the CGI was kind of weak also, is when she's fighting Icarus on the speed, because you can tell the CGI is bad in there, but it's because, again, celestials. There's a volcano in the background exploding. But the efforts in some spots more than others, and I get it. I will say, I still don't know why in any Marvel project they haven't mentioned the giant celestial in the sea. It's probably going to be mentioned the first time in Captain America New World Order, because that's like the main plot of the movie. But I was like, we need to mention that, because it happened. And it's a giant creature in the middle of the sea and no one else is talking about it. Lastly, what I will say is that I love that this is something different from Marvel. Because Marvel is getting really obvious and equated, I don't know if that's a word, but on that equation of action that is very tiring, that everybody has a fatigue already, and this was different. Did it hit with the critics? No. Did the audience love a lot more? Yes. But though I think this is a very overhated movie, yes, I think this movie is very good. And it's high on my Marvel list just simply because I think it's different. It was something I really enjoy. And it's one of my top movies on Phase 4, top projects on Phase 4. Because I think it's just much different, and where some other movies in that phase really fail. But again, this is my opinion. I wanted to talk about this movie because this movie sits really well in my heart. Again, I will die on this hill. Die. I fought with some, not fought. I had discussions with some friends of mine for hours already about this movie. So I will die on this hill. Please let me know in the comments what you think about Eternals, what you think it affected the Marvel Universe. If you think some of my ideas are good ideas, but let me know what your ideas are and what your cons of the movie are, and maybe your pros if you want to mention it. If you can like and subscribe again, that'd be amazing. Supports the channel. I want to keep doing this because I really want to have a career in maybe movie reviews and movie critics. So this is part of my future career that I want to have. So I consider this like a second job. So please, if you can help me out, that'd be amazing. And thanks for watching, guys. As always, it's been Frosty Chibuka Films, signing out.